everyone. This is Lana Misalucha, and you are listening to PHLV Radio.
PHLV Radio.
Are you ready to travel? We got all the travel buzz here on Smart People Travel Wise with Alvin Adriano on PHLV Radio.
Hello and mabuhay, and it's so great to be back on the show. It's a beautiful Tuesday here in Washington, D.C., and I would like to welcome you all back to Smart People Travel Wise. I'm your host, Alvin Adriano, CEO of Travel Wise International, and I would love to thank all of our viewers and listeners who have been supporting our show. And I really want to acknowledge all of you out there. Really, thank you so much, and I definitely feel the love. Today's show is going to be absolutely amazing, and it's something that I really need to start doing. I talk about the Philippines all the time, and I love it, and I just want to show all the people about all the different things that happens in the Philippines, but I haven't taken the due diligence, and I haven't discovered everything that the Philippines has to offer. I mean, I'm a land lover, but there are even more beautiful places in the water that surround the Philippine waters. But before I do, let me remind all of our viewers, if you are watching this live, please hashtag live, and if you're watching this on the replay, hashtag replay. Let us know where you're watching from, because we really want to make sure we acknowledge all of our fans out there in the world. So you can always view our show on Facebook and YouTube, and you can always listen to the show on Amazon Fire, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Or even better, download the app PHLV Radio, available on all iOS and Android devices. So Smart People Travel Wise is a new platform to educate the modern traveler with exciting new updates, inspiring destinations, and of course, all the possibilities to make your dream vacation reality. In our last two episodes, we spoke to two dedicated consul generals who have served their roles with passion and commitment. I am very blessed to work with some inspirational leaders like the consul generals, Kanjen Kato and Kanjen JV. My work would not be as purposeful if I did not work with so many great people. So I hope all the viewers and listeners can go back and watch those very, very great interviews. On our third episode, we'll be going to talk to an award-winning underwater photographer and dive master who's been living in the Philippines for over 10 years. He has an amazing journey, and the love for the Philippines is of every reason why I love to share his story his love for the country. The Philippines is full of astounding treasures, and if you don't know, Philippines is one of the most coveted dive destinations in the world, with thousands of dive sites. Whatever your dive experience is, be sure to make sure you stop by the Philippine waters. The Luzon region near Manila is the perfect place to begin your scuba adventure. With easy beach entries and plentiful macro life, thousands of divers use the area to get certified every year. From wreck diving, Subic Bay offers diverse chance to get up close and personal with sunken World War II warships, soft corals, turtles, and a plethora of fish species, and the sea snakes called the wreck's home. In terms of marine life, there are thresher sharks, whale sharks, schools of jacks, sardine balls, and rays. The Philippines is the perfect destination for gaining and perfecting new scuba skills while enjoying a wide array of underwater life and easy-going vacation above the water. For divers searching for the ultimate muck diving location, Anilao in the Philippines has to be among the best in the world, and not to mention one of the best dive spots in the Philippines. It's within a 20-minute boat ride, and visitors have access to a variety of unique sites ranging from healthy reef flats, sand, wrecks, rubble, walls, and even the opportunity to experience black water diving. This range of habitats is home to an enormous collection of extraordinary critters and macro species. The diversity, density, and quality of subjects is simply beyond belief. And joining us today is Mike Bartick. He's an award-winning marine wildlife photographer residing in Anilao, Philippines. He has an insatiable love for finding and observing and photographing unique marine life. And as a writer and public speaker, he shares his insight and knowledge with others. His curiosity and drive for firsthand experiences have led him across the globe in search of special critter encounters. He is a friend to the Filipino people, especially to the residents of Anilao, a true explorer and world trekker. I am truly honored to have him virtually meet this guy, and I can't wait to catch him in the Philippines. So please smash those heart buttons and give him a well-deserved thank you for being here today with us. So let's welcome the always original Mike Bartick. Hey, Mike. Oh, you there?
I'm here.
All right. Are you underwater or where are you at right now?
Thanks for having me, Alvin. Yeah, this is great. This will be great fun. So yeah, how are you? Good?
No, I'm good. I'm definitely good. I'm like enjoying the weather right now in Washington, D.C. And I know you're not in Philippines. You're actually in California.
Yes.
How's it in California right now?
Southern California is sunny and hot as usual.
Oh, awesome.
I'm right by the beach, and that has to be the canned answer for everyone, no matter what the weather is like.
Yeah. But, it's good. Us being pent up I know the West Coast doesn't really get winters, but being pent up and not being able to go outside on the East Coast, it was hard. So I'm so glad that spring and summer is coming so we can go out and enjoy nature, wildlife, and just be able to just share energy out there.
Yeah, that's right. It's been rough on all of us. And, as more travel starts to open up worldwide, people get back out there and hopefully start getting over to the Philippines again. It's a shame that the planet has been closed off to travel, but, we're getting there slowly. Philippines are doing their vaccinations now, and we hope that tourism reopens soon.
Yeah, I know. I'm really excited because, like you mentioned, vaccinations are up. The world's starting to realize how to deal with the COVID or the pandemic, and we're all just adjusting our lives. And that's why I'm excited to bring you on here. You're just a lover of Philippines, and I think it's going to be a really powerful interview, and just getting to know about what your story is. But I mentioned just a tidbit of your resume and what you actually do. But for our viewers and listeners, could you just tell a little bit about, your life, your story, and what it is, and how you got into, I guess, diving, and what brought you to Anilao?
Okay. It's a long story, so I hope you have a long show. I'll put it in a nutshell. So I was a trained chef, actually. I was a chef in my prior career. And I've always lived near the ocean and dived and snorkeled and stuff in California. And, once I started my career and started to earn a little more money, I began scuba diving more actively and traveling. And I've always had a camera. Even as a kid, 16 years old, snorkeling, I had a little camera. And, I mastered that camera. I was the best at shooting fish butts. Anytime a fish turned around, I was able to capture the worst photo ever. Yeah. So anyways, it took a long time. And diving in Southern California, in the early 2000s, I was able to get published. And that really kind of set a new fire to what I was doing. So I began traveling throughout the world looking for critters. I really love nudibranchs, small fish, animal behavior, things of that nature. And, California, while it has its real wild side to that, it doesn't have the density of fish populations or the biomass that the Indo-Pacific and the Philippines has. So I actually set out to an area called Lembe, which I really fell in love with. I was diving there often, and I was very close to taking a position with the company in Lembe. And a friend of mine who shared a common interest, which was nudibranchs at that time, told me, hey, if you like this place, you should check out Anilao in the Philippines. It'll blow your mind. And, I was very skeptical.
Yeah.
I thought at that point, nowhere could be better than Lembe, right? And we're talking about early 2004, 2005 at that time. So there wasn't really anything on the radar about Anilao. So
in Philippines, people don't really know about the Philippines. It's just one of those undiscovered islands that people pass over and don't really realize all the beautiful treasures.
Sadly, that's the truth, sadly. But so what happened was I started trying to research Anilao, and the easiest way I could do it at that time is to look in identification books of marine life. And then I started to notice the key areas like Mabini, Batangas, the Balayan Bay, Bay of Batangas, and Anilao, and it kept repeating. So I was like, wow, this guy must be onto something. So I booked my first trip. That was actually in 2006, towards the end of 2006, and November. And, that's where it all started for me. And I started going there. And at that time, you would get a 21-day visa upon entry. And so as a photographer, we usually have what's called a shot list. So I had a 25 subject shot list and 21 days to photograph the subjects. No pressure, right? No pressure. Yeah. But we managed to fill the shot list in 3 days.
Oh, wow. Is that unnormal, or, I mean, how?
It was way beyond my expectations.
Wow.
Whenever you travel someplace, it's hard not to get an expectation of what you're going to see or experience.
Sure.
And a lot of times you might come away from that experience a little deflated. But I was just completely blindsided by what I had seen underwater there. Yeah. And topside, Anilao at that time was really a diamond in the rough. There was a lot of the resorts that were in the area only catered to people that were basically fun divers, going out and just scuba diving.
Gotcha.
There was only really one resort that worked with photographers in any kind of capacity, but they were more science-minded. So I kept going back and forth. Before I even left from that initial trip, I had booked my return flight tickets.
Okay. Because
it was just astounding, And for photographers and other macro enthusiasts out there, on that first trip, we got into some weather, and I was snorkeling just to stay warm in the water, and we found rhinopias in 8 feet of water.
Oh, wow.
So, when you talk about rhinopias, usually it's a subject that macro enthusiasts will travel from one side of the globe to the other to find. And here we are snorkeling around, and we find them in 8 feet of water. And this was a subject that really wasn't even on our shot list. So we started adding subjects. It was just, an incredible experience. And I was really welcomed into the community. I really found it to be very warm. The diving was, just way beyond expectations. And still, it was a diamond in the rough. So, I began coming back and forth to the U.S., doing like real grassroots marketing.
Yeah, the traditional marketing before social media, right?
Way before social media, right? And talking to people in dive clubs, going to underwater photography clubs, and talking about them and showing photos. And before I knew it, people started coming over to see me there. And finally, I decided, I need to look around and find a resort where I can call home. Yeah. And build out a type of environment where we can bring guests from all over the world, introduce them to the marine life and the natural history of Anilao in the Philippines, and at the same time teach them underwater photography. So that's how Crystal Blue came about.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story because, again, Philippines is overly underrated. People don't put it on their bucket list because they just don't have enough marketing, or they're not advertised as much. But like you said, when you go there and your expectations, you don't know what you're about to get into, you start realizing all the beautiful natural resources that we have. I like to remind people that we have 22,000 miles of beaches, and we're, and one reason it's very important that people, like a lot of Filipinos, don't really understand is that we are in the Coral Triangle.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the biodiversity and the environments and the planet, it's vital for the ecosystem there. And it's one of those treasures that, as Filipinos, that we should really promote. I know nature-based tourism has started to blow up there. And
Right.
it's part of the most crucial part of the national income, and it really helps diversely look for the local economies like Anilao, like you said.
Yeah.
People are used to the Boracay, Siargao, Palawan, but these off the grid areas and destinations where you can find like the local provinces, it is a boost to their economy. It's a boost for their revenue.
Yes.
You're able to meet, and then you meet some of the nicest people,
You really do. I've traveled all over the Philippines, through Leyte, the lower islands, up through the Visayas. I've been down to Mindanao. I've been all the way up to Batanes, and it's the same thing. People are, everybody speaks English.
Yep.
People are warm and gracious. They want you to come into their house. They treat you as family. I mean, it's an incredible experience. I really love it.
You mentioned something because I'm not a diver, and I tried to prepare for this because in a lot of your interviews you talk about nudibranches, and I was like, what is a nudibranch?
Yeah.
So could you explain to all the viewers and listeners what a nudibranch is? I know what it is now, but
Yeah, sure. A nudibranch or a nudibranch, the word basically means naked gill, right? So it's a slug, basically, like a garden snail slug. But they have evolved over millions of years. They're very pretty. They have very flamboyant colors. They come in various sizes. They mimic different things. They're one of the most diverse animals on the planet, because of the way that they can deal with their environments, the way they propagate, the things that they feed on. There are even some that use solar power to create a simple sugar for, like a food source, through photosynthesis.
okay.
They're really just an amazing creature. I encourage everybody to go online and Google Nudibranch, Nudibranch, and just look. So when you talk about, biodensity, and we'll just start with nudibranchs. Dr. Terry Gossliner, who's one of the lead scientists at the California Academy of Science, has been leading expeditions to the Philippines, into Anilao and the Verde Island Pass, looking for new marine life every year. And they have discovered on our peninsula alone to be over 1,000 different species of nudibranchs.
Wow.
It's mind-boggling. When you consider a place the size of California only has 120.
Wow. I think I read, in my research that the Philippines, or just this, the Verde Island Passage, has the most nudibranch species in the world in just one area.
That's correct. And reef fish, coral species, all of these things. So again, when you opened up, you talked about the coral triangle. So when you look at the coral triangle, it's this line that basically, because they call it a triangle, it has to have straight dimensions.
Yeah.
But the actual line reaches up into the Anilao Verde Island Pass area, back down across the top of Indonesia, loops around Papua New Guinea, back up, and then through the Malay Peninsula and back up to Anilao. So within that area, there's over 500 coral species. Okay, 16,000 fish species or something crazy like that. 6 of the world's 8 turtle populations, and to think about that, that's only like 1.5% of the globe's total ocean mass as far as area, that all of this biomass is in one area. Yeah, in one area. So I mean, it's really astounding. It's really an astounding thing. And just for reference, again, if you think about the Great Barrier Reef, it's not included.
Oh, really?
It's not included because there's not the large variety. You have to have more than 300 coral species to be in the coral triangle.
Wow.
So people think about, the Great Barrier Reef as this huge place. Well, it is a huge reef system. Yeah. But it doesn't have the diversity that the Philippines has.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I like talking about people on the show, because we really try to uncover some of these hidden gems that people don't, not just the Philippines, but all across the world. And
Right.
talking to other people and getting their insights, it really opens up like opportunities, because just like you, I'm also a trained chef.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, I
Wow.
left that profession a long time ago too.
Oh, good for you. It's a rough business.
Yeah, I mean, I love cooking.
Yeah.
But those hours, I mean, they get to you.
Yeah, especially if you're a family man, and I know you have some young kids.
So that, but yeah, like you said, you know, we tend to follow our passions, and you know,
That's right.
Your story about, I think I read a story about you are young with an underwater camera, and it was something that you did in Hawaii, and you followed around, and then it just, you know, when you work for something that you love, it's never work. It's something
That's right.
you enjoy, and I can see from your face, and every time you talk about diving and about your experiences, you're just glowing with energy and positivity, and that's the greatest part about your story that I really like to highlight, because that's what people need to do. They need to take a chance, and then to follow their dreams, and you never know where you end up. Like, I'm sure you never figured you'll end up in Anilao, Philippines, of all places.
I did not expect to be in Anilao, Philippines like this. I did want to find a place, but I didn't know where it would be, right? I knew it existed.
Yep.
I just didn't find it yet. And, you know, I was so lucky. You know, it's strange how life works down to just, you know, seconds or conversations. And then, you know, you follow your passion. You just do it. And, you know, a lot of people are afraid to do that, but, you know, we only have one life, and we need to live it to the fullest and to the richest experience that we possibly can. And, you know, and to share that experience with other people. Yeah.
You know, and I think you're right. Like, there's opportunities for us all the time. It just takes us the opportunity to walk through the door, you know?
That's right. That's right. Open the door.
You open the door and just go through and just go.
I totally believe in that. I have this open door idea. You know, if one door is closing, another one is opening. So I'm always looking for open doors. I always try to seize an opportunity and go through the door and see what happens, you know?
Yeah. And
why not?
You mentioned before that you went all throughout the Philippines, you know, you explored all the different places. Out of all the places in the Philippines, all the different destinations, all the different beaches, why Anilao? Why did that have a certain pull to your heart, or how did you end up there? Was it just the reefs and just the biodiversity in that area, or?
It's the marine life.
Okay.
The marine life really, you know, as strong as it was on that first trip, you know, I have not stopped discovering things in Anilao. I like to describe it as a big onion with many, many layers. And it's like peeling one layer back and, oh, another fresh layer. And you peel it back and, wow, another fresh layer. Mm-hmm. And it's like one after another. I mean, I dive almost every day. Mm-hmm. And I'm always discovering new things, seeing new subjects, different animal behaviors. And it's been astounding. So, yeah, I mean, Anilao is not a place to go to see, you know, butanding or whale sharks.
Yeah.
Or it's not a place to go to see thresher sharks or manta rays.
Okay.
Right? But if you like beautiful, stunning reefs with colorful antheas and corals, and of course, all the macro critters like I do, then Anilao is definitely your spot. The other thing that makes it nice about the area is it's easy to get to. It's so easy to get there. Mm. You know, like foreigners come from all over the world. You land in Manila, and we pick you up right at the airport, and we're basically 3 hours away from Manila. But it's really a world apart. Awesome. So it's very easy to get to. The community is very tight knit, small, and there's no nightlife. Yeah, there's zero nightlife. It's all about diving.
It's all about diving.
It's all about diving.
So yeah, I like to mention, because you know, when you live there, you don't just dive all the time. You do run a actual resort there, right?
Yes.
The Crystal
Blue Resort.
Crystal Blue Resort.
Yes.
And so was that the resort, was that there before you got there and you just added yourself on, or how did that partnership between you and that resort start?
Okay, yes. So the resort was there, And like I said before, I was flying back and forth running workshops.
Mhm.
And it was very difficult at the end of these trips. I would look at, because you have to monetize, you have to at least come out, with some profit. And it wasn't working out like that. So it was very difficult. And at that time, again, looking around the area, there wasn't any resorts doing what we offered. In fact, globally, there was only one other place in the world, which was in the Bahamas, the Cathy Church Resort, that was offering these underwater photo clinics. So I was looking around, and a friend of mine said, hey, I was talking to him on internet or a telephone at the time. I think we were emailing. He says, hey, there's a few more resorts that you might want to try out. And he gave me a short list of resorts. And I started looking, and the last one on the list was Crystal Blue Resort. So my last couple of days that I was in country,
Mhm.
I went to Crystal Blue. They welcomed me in. We went out diving. And then that night we had a small typhoon come in, and just a small one.
This is small.
Just small one. And I myself and two of the staff who are still with us, this is more than 13 years ago,
Mhm.
we sat up and just played games for hours. And it was raining and storming and thundering and lightning. And we just had a great time. And I just felt so at home. I just really, really I don't know how to describe it. It was a perfect place at the right time. And so when I left the next day, came back to California, I actually found out that the owner of Crystal Blue Resort, who's my partner, Emma Bedota, she actually resides in California. And to make it even better, she was only about 5 miles away from the home I was living in Orange County.
No way. What a small world.
True story. So, you talk about open doors, here's an opportunity that is just a step away.
Yeah.
So immediately we contacted each other. We met. I told her what I wanted to do. And we said, this is a great opportunity for both of us.
Yeah.
And so I returned to the Philippines, and we started to redo the resort and prepare it. And by doing that, we redid all the rooms. We built a camera room.
Okay.
We rebuilt our dive deck and dive station,
Mhm.
installed nitrox systems, covered the dive deck. Oh, we've done so much.
Yeah.
But it was a resort before I got there, but it was mainly just a diver's resort.
Mhm.
Okay, so we completely turned that around. Now, we went through a full training program with all the guides,
Awesome.
who are some of the best guides in the area. And, it's just been fantastic. Now, if your viewers or listeners want to Google Anilao, they can just look at Arthur's Rock dive site. That's exactly where our resort is, Crystal Blue Resort. So we have a house reef. We can walk right in.
Oh, awesome.
It's
I like
incredible.
to tell all the viewers a little bit more. I mean, Crystal Blue Resort, as described as many on several dive websites, has an experience filled with warm Filipino hospitality set on the stunning backdrop of the Bay Area known as Anilao, Philippines. Crystal Blue Resort is the ideal getaway for your next adventure, where nothing has been spared to bring you the finest in accommodations, facilities, dining, relaxation, and fun, and has beautiful architecture blended with local landscapes, and if the perfect vacation for individual vacations, family holidays, groups, trips, and business conferences. And the best part, it's officially inspected and compliant and approved for hospitality, professionalism, and dive center safety. So yeah, I mean, I would love to go. I go to Philippines all the time. I've never been to Anilao, so I'll definitely have to visit you when we get over there.
Yeah, please, you'll love it.
Before we continue on the next part, we'll just go to a quick commercial break.
Okay.
And after the commercial break, we'll talk a little bit more about how Mike transitioned over from American life to Philippine life, and how that became about in staying there for 10 years. That's an amazing thing. So after the break, we'll talk again to Mike and hear his story again. So thank you, guys. so glad for us to get back and talk to Mike about his amazing story. But yes, I mean, everyone knows that Philippines is an underrated destination. But for an American traveling to Philippines for the first time, that's an amazing feat. But for an American to live there for 10 years, that's something that I've always wanted to do. So Mike, I mean, for you, when you first transitioned to go to Philippines, how was the climate? How was the weather? How did you adjust so quickly? Or has it been an ongoing struggle for you?
I in the beginning, I didn't anticipate moving myself to the Philippines. I've always loved tropical areas, first of all. When I was a youngster, my parents would take us to Hawaii frequently. Mm-hmm. And so I always imagined that I would end up living in a tropical area. And so on my first trip to Anilao, to the Philippines, I really fell in love with the climate. Mm-hmm. I love warm climates, humid climates like that. I love it. I love the tropical environment. Oh, wow. So, that part really didn't bother me. So, yeah, sometimes some parts of the year can get quite warm and you need to have aircon. Mm-hmm. But, when you're living next to the ocean, it's not as unbearable as it would be in Manila. Yeah. Okay. So we have the ocean breezes and things like that to cool us, which is really nice. So in that end of it, it didn't really bother me. I really loved it. It really welcomed me. And, again, I didn't anticipate moving over there. So in the beginning, these workshops, when I started out the workshops, like I was talking before, it was a little bit slow going and going back and forth was hard. We were doing maybe 3 workshops within the 6-month window. Mm-hmm. And slowly that became 5 and then 8 and then more and more. And now I found myself in a position where I needed to find a resort, like we were discussing with Crystal Blue Resort. Yeah. And that made it possible for me to stay in one place and allow the people to come to me. So it really made it easy for me to transition. Yeah. Okay, so it was like 2010 when that really began to pick up momentum for me. So it happened very quickly. And that's not just because of myself, obviously, but because of the resort. Yeah. And the staff and the people of the local community. So, people would come and, at that time, travel to the Philippines, especially Anilao, it kind of had particularly Anilao, had a very bad reputation. Oh, wow. For foreign divers, because the people that had been there were expecting something different. Gotcha. So they would go back and report whatever I don't know. Anyways, that wasn't my experience. So I knew that it would be a little bit of a challenge, but I love a challenge. I sought out some of the top dive travel industry people that I really trusted, and I spoke with them as kind of advisories and got their input, and we started, like I said, retool the resort. And so when that word of mouth started to spread that, hey, Anilao is incredible. Yeah. It's not what people think it was. Uh-huh. It's something new. Yes. Right? So it's now been repackaged and remarketed, and it's a new baseline. So people start coming, having these great positive experiences. Yep. And it's that word of mouth that is stronger than anything, especially in the divers community. Yeah. And it started to spread like wildfire. So now the resort is booked out well more than a year in advance. Wow, and, awesome. Yeah. And our primary market, like globally, is the United States, which is true for any, for scuba diving. Okay. Because, I mean, obviously we're the largest country in the world with scuba divers. So, for me, the transition was pretty simple. I pretty much live on site at the resort during these times. My girlfriend has a house in Manila. So I would visit her, and then we eventually got a condominium in Manila. Mm-hmm. So I could spend some off time with her there. But for the most part, I'm at the resort probably 20 days, 25 days out of the month.
Oh, wow.
Working with guests and diving. I dive, like I said, probably every single day.
It's amazing.
And
before we continue on, for the non-Filipinos, when you say aircon, that's a Filipino term. Mostly Americans or anyone else say AC or air conditioning.
Yeah.
I know you're a local now when you say stuff like that.
Air conditioning. Yeah. That's another thing I love about the Philippines. They take all these words and just make a shortcut.
They make it shorter, yeah.
Yeah, the refrigerators, your refs, you have aircon, you have, it's just all these great things.
Oh,
and
yeah, little gems.
One of the hard things I had to learn about the Philippines is to never put butter on my rice.
Yeah. How many eyeballs did I get on you?
Yeah, what's the butter for? Rice. It was like silence.
You talk about the community and it being a tight knit, a province or a village. What was the I guess, how did people accept you, or was it easy for you to mingle with the locals there, or was it a little bit like they were still scared, or how did that go about?
It's a mixed. It's mixed.
Okay.
Right, because I think a lot of the Filipinos see Americans and they just think, well, he's a tourist. He's going to be leaving soon, and you're pretty much an outsider anywhere in the world as a tourist. You're welcomed for a period of time, and then they expect you to leave, right? But I wasn't leaving, so I think a lot of people were very curious.
Yeah.
And, started talking to the boatmen and our staff and finding out, hey, who's this guy, and it started to the word kind of spread and got out. And we do a lot for the local community from the resort and to support the community and things. And, I when I go into Mabini Town to shop, I see people, hey, it's a really remarkable thing is a lot of Filipinos speak English.
Yeah.
They taught English in school, right? So a lot of Filipinos want to practice their English.
Exactly.
So they come up to you, hey, what's your name? How are you? What are you doing here? And things like that. So, it's cute. I love it. Really like that, and I think that maybe some Americans can be put off by that at times because in the U.S., we have such a closed culture. You might have somebody who lives next door to you for 20 years and never even know their names.
Exactly.
Sadly. And in the Philippines, everybody knows your name.
Yeah.
Everybody. And that's the beautiful thing, but you would get the common interview. So my common interview there is, hey, what's your name? How old are you?
Yeah.
What's your religion?
Yeah.
These are things you would never dream of asking somebody in the U.S.
Yeah.
My religion, it's just really bizarre. So, but you get used to that very quickly, and just know that it's part of the culture, and it's wonderful, really.
Yep, you just roll with the hits and
you just roll with it, man, because they're doing the same thing. They're like, "Who's this guy? What are you doing here?"
So you talk about being, in Anilao for 25 days out of the month, being around the locals, and as a general manager and person responsible for the, I guess, background operations and customer relationships, what's the typical day for you on the resort?
Okay, so when we're running workshops, we get up early. I'm up at about 6 a.m. And we have an early breakfast, 6:30 to 7. At 7 o'clock, 7:15, we start our workshop period, and that lasts till about 8 o'clock. And then we go out on the boats for 2 dives. Okay. So we go out, do 2 dives, come back, have lunch, and then because everything in the Philippines is centered around food.
Yeah, it is.
So we come back, we have our lunch, and then we have another afternoon seminar. Okay. So the guests of the workshops they have 2 different types of workshops every day. Okay. And then after that, we go out and do 2 more dives. So we do 4 dives a day typically, and some nights we'll be doing blackwater dives.
Oh wow!
So when we're doing the blackwater dives, I'll usually take a little nap in the afternoon, and and then dive until about midnight. So it's a very busy schedule, and the staff are really well in tune with the schedule of the resort and the workshops, and they just are so good about handling the guests and working with the guests. So we've never had a turnover, not one of our staff. We've only added staff to our resort in the last 12 or 13 years.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, Filipinos are great workers, and once they're passionate about something, they really latch on, and it's a beautiful thing because you can really find when for any culture, if you love something that you love to do, especially the people that you work with, you go leaps and bounds for them, and I'm sure that the environment, the culture that you've created over there at Crystal Blue Resort. Yeah,
I would go through through fire for my staff, and I don't even like to say my staff because it just feels
like a family.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, really, really are. They've welcomed me. I'm the ninong to so many of their kids now, and it's just incredible. Most of the staff is from Iloilo.
Wow.
Yeah, most of our staff. So they all live with us. We have a staff house. And we have a farm and other things related to the community and to the resort that also go hand in hand. So we have 17 full-time on staff, plus our farm employs other staff members from the community. So, and we have when you talk about the diving industry, particularly in the Anilao area, a lot of this stuff is freelance as well. So we own 3 boats, but we also, when we're busy, we'll be using 6, 7, 8 boats at a time. So a lot of the local boatmen are part of the fold. And because of that, I've gotten to know their families and become ninong to some of their kids and watch some of their kids grow up and have their own kids.
Yeah. Wow.
It's an amazing thing.
Yeah, a great ecosystem of people just helping each other, having true passion, and then enjoying Mother Nature and all that it brings. I think that's a beautiful, beautiful story.
It really is. And, all of our guides are locals, which is, again, unique to the Anilao area. A lot of other places in the Philippines, like anywhere else in the world, will employ foreign dive masters to work with their guests, and we don't do that. We use everything local, and we have created a lot of jobs in the area because of that, which is just a nice perk.
Yeah, no,
it's not something that we set out to do. It's just part of that whole, like you said, ecosystem.
Yeah,
that's branched out, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, I know. I think that's one of the most important things about your story that people don't really highlight. I mean, you don't, because of the people and the relationship you built, you've created a system or an environment for not only these people, but for yourself, that you feel trusted, that you feel engaged in something larger than yourself. And that's the biggest thing that, I know the scuba diving community is tight knit, there's only so many people, but so much in these provinces, being able to teach people how to monetize or create a living for what they have around them, that's an important thing. There's not a lot of opportunities in the Philippines, and being able to harness what it is or leverage the natural resources that are around them. And just by learning from you and learning simple, strategies so that you can entice more people to come here. I mean, they're showing off where they grew up. They're showing off where they live. This is everyday life for them. And so the things that you brought with them, it's just so remarkable. And so I really thank you for helping our kababayans, or all of our Filipino citizens, because these are the things that I really love to highlight in the show. So thank you.
Oh, of course. Oh.
I also want to talk about, again, I'm a beginner. I can't even say I'm a beginner. I'm not even in the water yet. But for diving, I know it's year round in the Philippines. But in your opinion, when are the best times to go to Philippines to dive?
Well, it depends on the part of the Philippines you're talking about. So, like the lower islands, Mindanao, their typhoon season is a little bit different than the Visaya or even the Luzon area. So for the Luzon area, the best time is basically October through June. Okay. So, and then in the lower islands, it'll adjust a little bit. You can dive more into the summer months. But for us, we get what's called habagat season. Habagat is a wind that comes out of the east, and then we get the others. I can't remember the main typhoon season really rolls in from July, August, September.
Yep.
And then it starts to break apart and becomes nice and diveable again.
Gotcha.
Okay, so on those shoulder months, it calms down. It gets very glassy, very calm, very still, and the diving can be phenomenal. I usually tell people to book their trips between those 2 periods of time. And even though I don't concentrate on July, August, and September, I still dive during those months, and it's fantastic.
Wow.
It's just a little unpredictable.
Okay.
So I try to encourage.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I mean, I know you have more than 6,000 dives under your belt. I mean, someone who doesn't know how to dive, or someone who's like even a beginner, is it okay to dive in the Philippines, or is any skill level okay to go there, or it has to be experienced divers?
No, anybody can dive in the Philippines. It's some of the easiest diving in the world as compared to other places that can be really treacherous. The Philippines makes it easy because the heart of the Filipinos, they want people to dive. They really, when you talk about valet style service, that's really very indicative of what the Philippines diving is about. I mean, they do everything for you. They load all your boats. They make it as easy as possible.
Oh, wow.
So all you have to do is physically get yourself on the boat safely and off the boat safely, and that's it. So you don't have to carry heavy gear. Mm-hmm. You don't have to worry about that. The staff does everything for you. The diving is very simple. And, in our area, in Anilao, actually, you had mentioned it being one of the training grounds for many of the Filipinos in the Manila area. They've come out for years. I'm like 50 years. Mm-hmm. They've been coming out and learning how to dive there.
Yeah. And
they see it, they get used to it, they take it for granted, and then spend the rest of their lives traveling outside of the country to dive, which is crazy to me. But, when I think about myself, I do the same thing. I grew up diving in California, but I leave the country to go diving. So, people want to travel.
They do. They do.
Yeah. So I found that the diving in the Philippines is not only wonderful for experienced divers, but really open for new divers alike because it's so easy.
Yeah. I mean, I know we're getting to the top of the hour. I know people are itching to travel. I know people are itching for meaningful things to do, trying to find new hobbies. If someone were to try to find you or Crystal Blue Resort, do you guys have a website or social handles that you can go ahead and just tell all of our viewers and listeners to follow you on?
Absolutely. Our website is www.divecbr.com, and the website has tons of information on there. And we're constantly updating it. Photos haven't been updated for a while because of the world pandemic, but all the information about the resort and contact is there. You can email me directly, mike@divecbr.com, and I'd be happy to provide any kind of information that I can. You can reach me through Facebook, Mike Bartick. And also Facebook, we have our website, our resort, the Crystal Blue Resort. We have several other ones there. And on Instagram, DiveCBR or Crystal Blue Resort.
Awesome. And, on the comments, we'll go ahead and put all the links, websites, social handles on there so that if any of our viewers or listeners are thinking about joining Mike on one of his workshops, diving and taking advantage of the huge amount of biodiversity in the Philippines, especially in Anilao, please reach out to him and his staff because I know they can't wait to show how beautiful the waters are in Anilao. And with that said, I can't thank you enough for everything that you've done, especially being here on this show, just relaying to all of our viewers and listeners about how beautiful Philippines are. And especially the hidden gems like diving, the Filipino community, and what it takes to be part of an ecosystem that continually gives. And I really love your story about finding your passion and following your dreams, which
Yes.
reminds me of a quote, be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire. So with that said, Mike, is there any last thoughts you can share with our viewers or listeners?
No, I just wanted to thank you for having me on the show and allowing me to, to talk about something that's very, very important and near and dear to my heart. And I just wish that people would take the Philippines off their bucket list and put it on their to-do list, to do next list. And, as the world opens up, the Philippines is going to be ready to accept you guys safely and open your world to a new experience.
Well, yeah, and Mike will welcome you at Nino Aquino Airport with all of his staff. Take you out to Anilao.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you again, Mike. I appreciate. Have good luck on your next. I know you're headed to Mexico for a great dive, so have fun, enjoy, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you again for all the viewers and listeners who've been able to listen to the amazing story of Mike, his abundant love for diving, and especially for our country, the Philippines. People like him are true heroes that allow us to find our passions in life and just be unafraid to pursue them. I'm really, really blessed to have met him, and I really can't wait to meet him in person. But next week, I am going to be joined by Philippine Airlines. I know Mike talked about making sure that Philippines is on your to-do list. So they'll talk to us how we can get to the Philippines, what's going on with the new restrictions, and how they have changed and innovated to provide a safe environment while flying. So tune in next Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific time and 3 p.m. East Coast time, and just listen to our great discussion on the concerns about traveling to the Philippines. So again, my name is Alvin Adriano, CEO of TravelWise International, a Filipino-owned and operated travel agency that is dedicated in serving the Filipino community since 1989. If you need help planning your next vacation to the Philippines or just anywhere in the world, whether by plane, cruise, or tour, please reach out to our experienced travel advisors at 301-248-8898, or you can visit our website at www.itravelwise.com. We are dedicated to making your dream vacations reality. So till next time, guys, smart people, travel wise.
Just like a friend from back home.
Hi everyone, this is Lana Misalucha and you are listening to PHLV Radio.
PHLV Radio.